Welcome back to Connect the World. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Ukraine's president is again blaming Russia for deteriorating conditions at the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Vladimir Zelensky says Russian bombing is making the situation unstable.
Shelling the territory of Zaporizhia means that the terrorist state does not care what the IAEA says, what the international community decides. Russia is interested only in the fact that the situation would remain the worst and as long as possible.
Ukrainian authorities say the transmission line from the plant's last working reactor to Ukraine's energy grid had to be disconnected Monday. Apparently a fire broke out, but it didn't damage the line and would soon be reconnected. Our Melissa Bell is following the developments from Kiev and joins us now live. Melissa, good to have you with us. So it seems like little is being done to stem the hostilities in and around that nuclear plant, with both sides continuing to blame each other.
On the contrary, it seems that the shelling has continued unabated today. We've been hearing from the mayor of the town in which Zaporizhia power plant lies, Hodar. Now, he's no longer in the town now that it's in Russian hands, but has been speaking about the conditions there, saying that fresh shelling today, a large explosion, had entirely cut off the town's water and electricity supply. We've also been hearing from the Russian-backed administration of the region, Lynda, about the fact that they also say that there's been renewed shelling. That's something the two sides agree upon in terms of what's gone on today around the plant in that town of Hodar, saying that there's been more shelling. And this time, you mentioned a moment ago that the previous shelling, what we reported already yesterday, that there had been that final reserve power line that had to be disconnected as a result of a fire. Things have actually taken a turn for the worse today, since as a result of the latest shelling, according once again to the Russian-backed military and civilian authorities, it is now the sixth reactor at the plant, the only one that's now functioning as a result of the shelling of the last few days, that is actually having to power down. So they're having to lessen the amount of power going because, again, of that limited power supply. And that is of concern, of course, Lynda, because as we've been hearing these last few weeks, whenever there have been issues to do with the power supply to the plant, it is the cooling systems inside that become jeopardized, and that, of course, is of huge concern. Now, on the upside, there are now IAEA inspectors inside the plant, two of them that have stayed behind. We're due to hear tonight from the head of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, who's due to address the Security Council about exactly what the 6 inspectors that he'd left behind in the plant last Thursday have found. 4 of them left yesterday, 2 of them still inside. And even if their presence hasn't so far meant a cessation of hostilities or even a quieting down of the shelling that's been going around the plant, at least we hope their presence should be able to give us better information about exactly what's going on inside, Lynda.
Yeah, exactly. We will be bringing that to our viewers 3 p.m. Eastern when it happens. But I also want to ask you, Melissa, about the counter-offensive, particularly around Kherson, because we are hearing more about how Russian soldiers have been treating the locals in towns that have been retaken.
Well, the town that you refer to, Vysokopilia, which is a settlement of some 5,000 people in the very north of that Russian-controlled land that is now on the front line of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, where they say they're starting to make a little progress. They recaptured that town on Sunday. We saw those images tweeted by several officials here in Kyiv, showing the Ukrainian flag being placed once again on the rooftops there, a symbol, of course, to give people on this side of the war hope. Lynda, what we've been hearing is from NGOs who've been speaking to some of the people in this newly liberated town, telling of, sadly, a pattern. Now, we've just been meeting with the prosecutor here in Ukraine who's in charge of war crime investigations, and who says although it's too early for him to say exactly what in the investigation, which will now begin, will yield, he does say that what he's hearing goes with a pattern that's been observed throughout Ukraine. We've seen it in those parts north of Kyiv, in Chernihiv, in all those territories where Russian forces came. What they leave behind, he said, is a trail of devastation. It is torture, it is rape, it is underground dungeons and interrogations and human rights abuses. And it is these kinds of investigations that mean, Lynda, that this is now a country in which this prosecutor's office from which we've just come is now engaged and has now launched more than 32,000 war crimes investigations. Some of them on this side of the divide, again, in those parts of the country that are clawed back from Russian forces, some of them actually on the other side of the divide, trying to figure out exactly what's going on in those lands that for the time being lie beyond the reach of Kyiv. Lynda.
A huge task indeed in just 6 months of war. Melissa Bell for us in Kyiv, thanks very much.